in our session today, we will be joined by one of 2020's business heroes who's going to share her experience in the competition last year. And then following which we'll have two angel investors who are joining us from Dazzle Angels, and they're going to give us insights on what investors are looking for when we pitch our businesses. And lastly, we'll go over the application form with you, and then you'll have a chance to ask any questions that you may have about the competition. So firstly, what is Africa Business Heroes? The Africa Business Heroes competition was established by Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and has dedicated himself and largely this competition to inspiring, supporting, and training African entrepreneurs. And here we are in 2021 undertaking this mission to strengthen the African entrepreneurial ecosystem by identifying the business heroes, which is you, all across Africa, training them and telling their stories. I see you've got Natalie Moya joining us from Zimbabwe, Leonard from Northern Cape in South Africa. I see Zim, we've got Uganda in the house, South Africa, Danielle from South Africa, Tsiri from South Africa. So largely it looks like we've got Southern Africa in the house. So welcome, thank you. So next up, to tell her story, please allow me to introduce Joan Rukundo Nalubega. She is the founder and CEO of Uganix and a 2020 top 10 Africa business hero. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So my name is Joan Nalubega, and I'm the CEO for Uganix.
Welcome, Joan. Sorry to jump in, just want to just let you know that the video isn't on. If you thought it's on, we can't see you. It'd be great to see you.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Thanks.
Can you see me now?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. So yes, as I was saying, that Uganix is a social enterprise that is fighting malaria in Uganda and in Africa from its root cause. And we are utilizing everyday consumer products like soap, where we blend in our mosquito repellent components to make malaria prevention affordable and accessible to everyone without incurring any behavior changes. And I'm a 2020 finalist for the Africa Business Hero. I don't know, should I go on and talk about my experience? Or this is the introduction, because I joined in a bit late.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, it would be great to hear how your experience was and how it impacted your business.
Okay, so during the application and after the application, throughout the whole journey with the Africa Business Hero,
Hi, John. It looks like you're muted if you're speaking. You went on mute. We can't hear you. Hi, John. Can you hear me? You're on mute.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, my network got a bit. Yeah, but I was saying that the application process was very complex, and but it was a very interesting journey that I had to take as a young entrepreneur. And I would say that like throughout the process, because right now there's still applications out there, I think I had to stay on the forefront of the whole process, staying true to myself. And also the fact that I know my product because I developed it, and I had to practice a lot because the process has a lot of pitching in it. I had to practice a lot. I had to write and do right things. But yeah, overall, there was a lot of learnings. I got a lot of learnings from the different people and the mentors throughout the process, and also from fellow entrepreneurs, which I think is an opportunity for everyone who applies and goes through even the first stages, because it all has its opportunities. For example, the judges give feedback on every stage of the application, and their feedback is very, very interesting, and it's something that can help take already your business to the next level. So maybe one of the things besides the money, of course, when you become a finalist, you get like some money, but besides the money that Ugandans got from the competition, I got connected to a couple of mentors who also connected me to different specialists that have supported me through my business. And you also get to meet, I also got to meet different entrepreneurs, some of them that I'm already partnering with Ugandans to get our products in different other parts of the Africa, of the continent. And then also throughout the feedback, throughout the process, you're required to have some things, you're required to do some things that changes the way you see your business. For example, one of the things that Ugandans had to really do, because there's always due diligences, and we never used to really follow up on our tax that we used to pay, or like we didn't pay tax very well. But because we needed to have like certificates from the tax certificate, we then went into the firms that we were working with and realized that some of the taxes were not paid well, and we had to really like go through a tough time and pay fines of tax, which I won't say it was a fun journey, but it's something that taught us to really be focused on where we are going, and also to be focused that we do everything we do right. So the process is something that just it helps you shape your business as an entrepreneur throughout the different things. So yeah. I don't know.
No, thank you very, very much, Joan, and thank you for sharing your experience with us with the Africa Business Heroes competition and the value of the program, just in terms of feedback and how it has opened doors for you and given you insights in itself about how you, about your business, just internally, and how you operate, and how it's also helping you form partnerships to expand your business. And I think that also for our audience as well gives them some insights into the value of this program that we're here about today. So thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And I hope you will join us. We will stay with us to join us for a Q&A later. I'm sure people in the audience will have questions for you. And so up next, we've got Dr. Audrey Vahacha, an angel investor from Dazzle Angel. And she's joining us with a very special guest that we have this afternoon, Jean Chawapiwa. She's also an angel investor. And they're here to share the investor perspective with us as business owners, as startups. As we go into this competition, we know that pitching is a very important part of this business or of this competition. And we're pitching to investors. So it's always good to hear from them what tips they can give us to implement in our pitch. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Tari. Am I visible? Is Jean visible? Can you see us both?
Yes, can see you both. Welcome.
Hey, great. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me as well?
Perfect, loud and clear.
Awesome.
you.
Yes. Awesome. Great.
Right, Jean, I'm going to give you the questions, and as an experienced investor, we're going to tap into that, because basically when people apply for a competition, they want to put their best foot forward. And I want to explore your knowledge on what do you look for when you make a choice on paper and when you speak to an entrepreneur. But first of all, Jean, tell us what We Connect is. Obviously, Dazzle Angels is an investment vehicle and investor, but We Connect. Tell us what you do.
Okay, great. Hello, Africa. This is fantastic. Really delighted. Hi. So I'm one of those entrepreneurs who wears many hats. I am the country director for We Connect International. And We Connect International is a global organization that identifies, registers, and certifies women-owned businesses. The key criteria is that the business must be minimum 51% owned, managed, and controlled by women. And there's a global database. I'll put the link to the registration later on in the chat. It's basically, if you're a woman-owned business and you are a registered business, you can go onto the global database and put your business details in. The organization is owned by members, and those members are 115 American large corporates. So your EYs, IBM, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, there's 115 of them. If you go to the We Connect website, you'll see them. This database was created by them, for them. So they're looking for women-owned businesses. They go into the database, they find your details. So one of the things you need to do as an entrepreneur is make sure you're visible. So this is just another platform on visibility. A lot of corporates say they can't find women-owned businesses. They can't find tech-owned companies. They can't find African-owned companies. Find the platforms, register, and be visible. And then as part of that registration, we do training, we do connect sessions, we have opportunities for RFPs. There's a lot we do within the network. I've actually just jumped off a training program that we're running for Procter & Gamble to be on this platform for this. So really delighted. Audrey, thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Jean, as an investor, and this is not only speaking to female businesses, we can see there are quite a lot of male businesses, and the Africa Euro competition is for men and women. So you're all welcome all over Africa. Jean, but your experience, just tell us a little bit as that person that looks at an application on paper, but also at a pitch from an entrepreneur. Can you maybe delve into what are you always looking for? You know, what do you want to see them write well? What's the first thing that jumps out when you go through an application?
Yeah, so Audrey, we're both experts in this, so I'm hoping we're going to share. So I'm going to talk from my perspective.
Yes.
I don't have a financial background. I don't have an investor background. I went into Dazzle Angel because I've been working with entrepreneurs for a long time, and I saw there's a huge gap for investments, especially for early stage startups. So I got the opportunity and jumped in. But as I sat on the board of Junior Achievement Africa for many years, and I was the chair for 3 years. I've seen a lot of pitches from youth to older participants. I've worked in the mining sector. We've met a lot of entrepreneurs. So what is it that makes somebody sit up and say, wow? So for me, the first thing is that people invest in people. You know, it doesn't matter what blinkers you want to put on people. At the end of the day, we're looking at the people. Packaged with that is, you know, is there a management team? You know, have you put forward that is this just one person with an idea that's still to bring it through? Is there already a management team that's in place? Is there an advisory team that's in place? You know, is this idea gonna work? a lot of people fall down in those first phases because some investors don't have the energy to go beyond what they see of you. So, practice your pitch, bring it forward, make sure your voice is projected. I listened to a pitch 2 days ago where I struggled to hear the woman and I kept telling her, please raise your voice, please raise your voice. And she had a great idea. So remember, people invest in people and you want to give them the confidence in who you are and that you can go and do lots of great pitches. So beyond that, what problem are you solving? And that's sometimes a very difficult one because not every great idea is new and fresh out of the box. Some ideas have been there, but you're going to deliver it in a different way. But a lot of us are looking at, what is the problem that you're solving and what's the solution that you're bringing forward. At Dazzle Angel, we're mostly working with tech ideas, and I couldn't think of a great tech pitch I've seen recently that I wouldn't give too much away. But one of the pitches that really stuck in my mind during my days of junior achievement was a group of young girls from Zimbabwe who presented at Africa competition. The problem was many women and young girls have period pains every month. They had packaged a herbal tea made from a local herb. When we said, where did you hear about this? It came from their grandmother who used to tell them, go and pick this leaf, brew it, drink it, and it helps. They'd now taken that solution, which is an old age African known herb, and they beautifully packaged it and put the promotion together about it. So for me, there's a problem. We know there's a problem. It's a global problem. And they'd found a solution and they had the leadership team to be able to present it well. So a lot of investors are looking for what problem are you solving? Are you just redoing something? Having said that, though, one of the good pitches, I recently was a judge on US-based business pitch competition, and one of the winners was a fashion designer. And all of us say, what is there a problem? Are you solving a problem here? But her approach was unique. Her styling was unique, and her presentation was breathtaking. And she was one of the winners. So, again, it comes back to how are you presenting your ideas? Are you unique? Are people going to say, yeah, I want to invest in you? For me, I looked at her clothes and I thought, I would wear this. And I don't know anybody else who's doing this type of styling. So that was great. The other thing is obviously the thing that most entrepreneurs fear is financials, revenue projections. So I would say, make sure you've got financials. Make sure it's real reporting. I've seen financials where it just looks like somebody just threw together some figures. This is not genuine financial reporting. We find even working in WeConnect, when businesses want to certify, they need to submit financials. Some of the financials, you can tell when a financials is just smoke and mirrors. It doesn't matter if you're not showing a profit, but the investor wants to see that you're genuinely reporting, understand your financials, and your financials match your projections. So for me, that's another thing around the financials.
So can I summarize, Jean? What I'm hearing while I listen to you is the amount of effort people put into a pitch. And I actually want to reinforce this because a lot of pitchers think, you must feel sorry for me. I want a grant, and they put 2 sentences down while it takes effort to raise interest. And that authenticity of owning what you're driving and then putting the effort in packaging it in an interesting way is very important. And you can do it even in an application form where there's no, I go through applications and I can see this person wrote 2 sentences. They really didn't care, while comparing it to a person that goes into full paragraphs, making a case. You can even see the ownership just in the language that they use in the application form. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things is that you must get people to check what you're doing. Get somebody to proofread your application. Get somebody to look at your slide deck. There's nothing worse than getting something that you know somebody hasn't bothered to put the effort in, and there's spelling mistakes and there's silly grammatical errors. You know, get people to check it. Having said that, I saw an amazing, and I think you saw the deck too recently, I won't name who it was, of a current company we're reviewing at Dazzle Angel. And just the slide deck was breathtaking. It was beautifully put together. It told you the story, it told you the idea, it told you the problem, it told you who the team are, the management team are, and it told you their experience. So you immediately, just from the slide deck, saw that these are experienced entrepreneurs who've had other successes and they're likely to have another success. But it also told you their idea. It told you a little bit about their projections. It told you who they were already engaging with and partnering with. And it told you who their advisors were. So, you know, really well thought through. And there's no reason why a lot of pitch decks cannot look like that. So yeah, definitely, I think people really need to think through what they put forward. Just jumping on your other idea about people coming forward as a charity, I think way too many times people think you'll get an investment because you're going to save a community or you're going to save, you know, youth. People want to help you to save a community and they want to help you to save youth, but they still want a good idea behind it. They still want to know that you have the ability to deliver and scale. So people just don't give you money for charity reasons.
And then, Jean, if I can ask you, because it's always a tricky bit. We always say as investors, show me your traction, right?
Yeah.
Show me that you know how to convert a market. Now, how do you show that? How do you show that when I pitch to you? How do I convince you I know how to get more people to buy my product? Or so just help us a little bit on that next level, because we always tell people, show that, but how do people show that?
So for me, I always think about, you know, what is the go-to-market strategy? You know, who's the client that you've got so far? If it's not a client, maybe it's somebody who's advising you and they're telling you how to improve the product. Do you understand how you're going to sell? Do you have you done the proper market research? Do you understand who your competitors are? Because I find some entrepreneurs haven't even done research, even Google research on who their competitors are. So, you know, I want to see that you have given it a lot of thought, taken advice, and can actually really realistically with your financial projections show the ability to have traction. So one of the things I've seen over the years is that, you know, every entrepreneur has a revenue line that goes like that. You know, it can only go up and it'll go up at a steep angle. You know, we're going to make millions. I've had people telling me this market is worth billions and we're going to make 500 million and we'll be global in 2 years. And then I think, really, it's just not that easy. It has been done, but it's not that easy. So it goes back to the people again. Is this person clever, smart enough to really put into action what they're thinking? So for me, that's what it is. So it'd be interesting to hear, what are you looking for, Audrey, as when you're on interaction? What are you looking for? Let me learn something.
Yeah, I want to share this. I saw a pitch the other day of somebody who wants to build an app, and they are asking for 5 million rand to build this app. And then I asked, so why do you need 5 million rand to build the app? Because I know some apps does, you know, it can cost that.
Yes.
And then they just say, the technical team will cost me 5 million rand. And like 2 sentences, and immediately know they have not worked through a user experience. They have not gotten 3 quotes yet. They have not worked out what technologies they will use. So their planning in this process is not aligned to the money that they ask. And you can just ask one question and you know that this 5 million rand was pulled from the heavens above, and it's a gut feel that's not built on experience.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think the financials and the storyline must go together. And if they project a growth plan, that they must show, you know, it took us so long to get the first 50 customers. Now we know what we do, and therefore we can go up. But we need 3 people, or we need 20 people, or we need 50 people, because we've learned our lessons. And I think that realism and the failure, but not focusing on the failure, focusing on the opportunity, but there's real lessons learned. And that you can illustrate that by showing that you're real about what you're doing. It's not just a wild pipe dream. And yeah. I always look for that humanity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely out there. Yeah, I was trying to think what else we haven't talked about. So, you know, people invest in people. What is your go-to-market strategy? Real financials and projections, understanding your competition, and pricing as well. I think pricing is important to understand. Get a sense of, you know, is this realistic? What is your pricing strategy? Have you done research around that as well? And then in technology, you know, we're always looking for that IP, you know, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about that because you've had a lot more experience than I have, because I've seen people with great ideas and in technology, and then, you know, one of the technology experts in the group then talks about the IP. So the other thing, before you come in, Audrey, I wanted to add is that you must always remember that even when with Dazzle and some of the other groups I've worked with, your application and your pitch often is not looked by one person. So Jean may be looking at these 3 things, Audrey may look at something else. So you really need to make sure that your pitch is attracting and answering the questions of varied people. And understand also that when you've submitted an application, it will be looked at by varied number of people.
Yes, just to quickly conclude that, I think it's very important that you stand out from the crowd. I would put it like that. Intellectual property, IP, as Jean says, does say that you own something and you protected it. I know, Jean, that you have to leave to your workshop. We are so grateful for your time. Thank you for sharing it with us, and I'm sure it added a lot of value. I will stay on the call for Q&A afterwards, but Jean has to go and continue her good work in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll just put the link for We Connect in the chat, and thank you for asking me to join you. And I look forward to future sessions on this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Audrey. I think we've all got a good sense of what investors are looking for. So remember your business, your product. Is it providing a solution that is unique and to help the communities that we are in? So always be sure to communicate that very clear and concisely, and don't forget to show those numbers, those financials. And I will give Audrey a chance at the end of the session to answer any questions you may have about that, particularly about your financials. I know there's been a few questions about that. How do you show your financials really well? Your growth strategy, what do you need to do to get that going, etc. So I will give us time to have to ask Audrey those questions. So quickly, I'd like us to take a quick break. Just to take, stretch your legs, grab a cup of coffee, glass of water, and we'll meet you back here at 12:35. And if anyone is here or doesn't want to go on a break, just a quick icebreaker just to understand you and the audience and what your business, where your businesses are. I'm going to quickly run a poll here. And the first one is about the stage of your business. So are you still in the seed stage? Are you early or angel, series A or series B? So I've launched the poll now. So please feel free, it'll pop up on your screen. Just let us know what stage of your business you are. Okay, I see we've got a lot of seed stage here in our audience. It's between seed and early. Few Series A businesses with us today, so that's also quite exciting. Okay, last chance to get your vote in. Please let us know what stage your business is. We've got seed, early, series A, and series B. So I see we've got, it's a bit of a tie between seed and early stage. And following very closely is series A. Okay. Just gonna end this quickly. So just quickly for you guys to see what this looks like, what our audience is like, what everyone is, where everyone's business is within the audience. Okay, and then just quickly, just to also understand where we are just for the next part of our session, please let us know whether or not you have started your application for the Africa Business Heroes competition. And if you have, let us know if you've completed. You can also let us know about the application process in the chat, how you found it. Was it easy? Any advice for everybody that's in the audience that hasn't applied yet or started their application yet? Would be good to just share knowledge. We learn from each other. So let us know. I see it's 50-50 split at the moment. And those that haven't applied, are you going to apply for the Africa Business Hero? Are you an African business hero? Please let me know in the chat. Okay. And the very last one, if there's anyone in our audience that has applied for the Africa Business Hero Prize before, please let us know if you have, and also what your experience was last year, if you have any advice for those that haven't been through this competition before. Let us know your thoughts, your experience. We'd like to know, we'd like to learn. I see a comment here from Charles that says, I think those in seed stage find it very difficult to meet the financial record requirements. So I think Buntu, maybe you can expand a bit more on that in your session, just for everyone. Yes, I see a lot of people are going to apply. You guys are our business heroes. So please, please do apply. It really does give you the exposure across the continent and across the world. And as Joan said, and as Ethel said in our last workshop, it also does give you an opportunity to get feedback that you can input within your business. The mentorship that you get from different mentors and business supporters and funders themselves is really, really valuable. So it's a valuable experience all around. And thank you very much for all your insights and for your polls. We will share them in our follow-up email. I would now like to hand over to Buntu Majaja. He is a director here at the SA Innovation Summit, and he's going to talk us through the application for the Africa Business Heroes competition. Let us know more about the criteria, what is required of us when we start this process, and we'll answer any more of your questions that you've submitted with your registration, and any that you have, you can post in the chat and I will share those with Buntu. So over to you, Buntu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tarisiru, and a big welcome to everybody. I love the saying, hello, Africa. From Africa to the world. Such a pleasure to be here, and really excited that half of us have started, but the rest of us are going to get there as well. I think, as Tari said, you are, as entrepreneurs on the continent, you are without a doubt a hero in your community, in your family, to your customers, because you usually in Africa as business people, if you're solving a very important problem, which is employment. Which is one of the biggest challenges we have. So this is one of the values as well as of Africa Business Heroes Prize. But what I want to share with you today will be a little bit about the process, how when you're applying and what happens after you've applied. And then we'll look at an overview just at what the application form is like, and the application itself has at an eagle's eye view. I think the biggest eagle in the world is the African eagle. So, and it goes, I think, something like 2 kilometers up into the sky. So we want to take that kind of look before diving into more general advice outside of the application, but how you should go about doing it. And then we'll look at very specific key aspects of the application itself, from the extracts in the application. Some of you guys would have seen these. So let's get started, shall we? From the application process perspective, first thing is that it does close on the 7th of June. So I think today we're sitting at something like 24 days, 24 days, just about 4 weeks till that date is closed. And that's not very far. So that's the step that we're in now, is applying. But once then the applications close and you've put in your applications, then the system will determine who will filter the first, who's completed the application in full. Are there any gibberish or nonsensical cat walking over the keyboard type of answers, and those will be automatically removed. However, those that have filled in everything, all the answers are coherent, and all the things that need to be uploaded have been uploaded, then these will go into the round 1 judging, and this is where you get sort of your first value by actually having invested in trying to apply for the application, because the round 1 judges are going to read your application form, and they're going to, one of them will be giving feedback, but both of them will be then scoring the application itself. And so we're talking about, some of leading experts across the continent here, who are investors, founders themselves, industry leaders, in senior and management positions, who are going to be looking at these. And they're going to be looking at plenty of these. So, there is some conciseness that you must bring to your responses. But if you then make it through to the top 50 from this scores or scoring from the judges, you will then go to the round 2 judges. And here, there is a level of training that you will get. And then there's also a level of mentorship by being interviewed by the round 2 judges. And these are usually, partners of VCs or founders and MDs in large corporations and so on. So, leaders with extensive experience in starting things, building things, and expanding things across the continent and expanding businesses. And you'll get video call interviews with them, which will then take us to the top 20, which also goes through a due diligence by the partner PwC, because previously the things that are submitted need to be aligned at this point. It's very important because this is also where you get more mentorship and as well as a boot camp before you then go to the top 10, where you also get more training on how to pitch your business and what are the things that you should prepare for the due diligence. So lots of value there. And then lastly is the semi-final pitch as the top 20 before going down then to the top 10, which pitches at the grand finale in front of some of Africa's biggest leaders and entrepreneurs like Strive Masiwa, as well as Jack Ma himself. So that's the process that you can expect, and really it's running over the whole year. It is an ongoing journey and an experience in itself to become Africa's business hero. And at each of these gates, there's value for you, whether that's through networking, mentorship, and training, or exposure, like Joan had mentioned before. So let's take a look at the overview of the application itself. It's really made up of about 5 areas. The first being the eligibility check and the referencing. This is the tick box as to whether should we even consider this application. So the things to ask up front is, are you the founder? So it has to be a founder who's applying. There's been in the past where someone who applied but wasn't the founder, clearly came out is not the founder, was more of a senior manager in the business. But we need the founders here to be telling the story of as a business hero. And then do you have African citizenship of any African country? Or are you a descendant of either your parents who have African citizenship, or as well as your grandparents? So if your grandparents, your parents, or yourself have African citizenship, then that's a tick box for you. The other tick box is then, is your business operating in Africa? Majority, is it registered in any African jurisdiction? And then the majority of its sales are also from African countries. And then the last tick box is that the application is looking for post-revenue businesses, and businesses that are particularly got 3 years or more of operating experience. So this means that you would have needed to have registered your business before June, the 8th of June, 2018. And your revenue should at least show about 3 years. So it doesn't have to be, 3 years, 12 months, like 36 months, but within the last 3 years or more, you have revenue history. So if you got all those tick boxes, then you're eligible to apply, which means that you can then now give a reference. That's also a check-in that, there's someone who can stand as testimony to your character. And this should be someone who has worked with you before. It could be a close friend, your business partner, a colleague, ex-employer, whoever it may be, but they will write a written testimony of you and endorsing you in a sense for the application. And then lastly is a video introduction. This comes towards the end, but these are the things that you want to think about up front if you want to start working on these, which is really having 3 videos, 1 minute each, of yourself or your company, then your team as well, and then your customers. So your customer will be coming in and endorsing you, or being a testament as well to the services and products that you provide for them. So that's sort of the checkbox area. And then it comes to more where the judges are reading to understand more about you, and reading to form a picture as to why you should be Africa's next business hero. And the first one is the founder's profile. This is, say, the foundation of your application. It's trying to align your values, why you're an entrepreneur, why you're solving this problem, and so on, to the rest of the application. So really think about how this will build up on your application as a foundation. We'll touch more in detail about this later. And then the second piece is the business profile, really around the demographics of the business, where you're situated, how many full-time employees, when were you registered, and you upload your license or certificate and so on. And then comes the pitch, which is really the majority of the application, is around the problem and the solution that you're solving, the market size, the market dynamics, competition, everything that our investors today mentioned are key. This is where you want to put in your work, iterate, review, get feedback, and so on. And then lastly is your video introductions, where you upload these 3 videos. And the point is, they don't have to be professionally shot. You know, you don't have to get a BBC or a CNN type of setup and have editing and post-production. It can be shot from your phone. It can be shot from your laptop. And the point is to get across the authenticity. You know, I think the investors touched on this, the humanity, who you are, credibility around your environment. This is the point that the judges want to get a real feel for here. But if you have any challenges, you can reach out to us at Africa's Business Heroes at innovationsummit.co.za, and we'll be happy to guide you on recording these or putting these together, and so on. So the areas that we're going to focus on here are really the foundational areas within the founder's profile and the business deep dive. But that's, say, the overview of what you're looking at. And if we look at how should you start applying, you know, what's the general advice here? A couple of tips or advices is that you want to understand Africa Business Hero Prize's values and align your pitch to these. And really the values are passion, boldness, resilience, innovativeness, being impactful, having gone through challenges as an entrepreneur. Maybe you've pivoted, maybe there's deep sacrifices you've made, that resilience coming across. And also, based on your situation, what were the decisions you made that looked ludicrous? Maybe you came up with something new in that process, and you're realizing you're onto something, and you realize you're really onto something. You want to bring across that aspect of the IP or what you're doing differently from competitors. So this aspect of being innovative, being bold, being resilient are the kind of words or synonyms of words that you want to bring into your application. Other areas is, Pan-African thinking, being inclusive, whether that's your business model particularly or your own values. You're trying to create inclusivity, and then you're looking at your community. You're grassroots orientating. You're impacting people on the ground, and you've got stats to back that up. And so that's sort of the first area. Really immerse yourself in these values. And then secondly is to be consistent. Consistent not only in your application, but the things you upload, the things on your public profile as well, things on your website. These things must be consistent with the application form, because the judge could quickly Google you, and if they find inconsistencies, it's going to be a challenge. But if we look at the application itself, the idea is that there's a narrative, a golden thread really, that's going all the way from your founder's profile and your values embraced with ABH's values into where the business is operating and why the business is operating there and why it's solving that problem. And then the numbers, the scale, the scope of how you're doing things, your market, your geographical reach and positioning within your competition. Those things must connect and line up and line up as well with your projections, because there is an area where you talk about your future of the business and your growth plan. So that single narrative, very key, and you could even get someone who's a writer, someone who enjoys writing or enjoys reading to make sure when we read through this, they can capture that takeaway. And then make it personal, make it authentic, bring your story. There is a full non-disclosure that all the judges sign and everything you say and write will be confidential. So if there is a sense of who you are that you want to bring in that you wouldn't want to have in the public or shared publicly, that's absolutely fine. But that's I suggest that you bring that in, because that's what connects and builds rapport and tells us your true story. And then clearly articulate, there's word counts, and you want to be short in your word counts, but you want to be clear. You want to provide evidence. You want to provide examples. You want to demonstrate through observations and statistics and so on. And we'll touch on these a little bit more. But and then the writing is really a journey. This is something that Jean mentioned, is that get others to look at your work, get feedback, get the team to work through some of the areas and your responses, write it, review it, send it to someone to review it, and then make some updates and repeat. And this is why, even Joan said she wrote it many times, her application and her pitch. And every time you do it, it improves your chances. And really can't say this enough, that you should start now. Half of you have started, which is fantastic, and you are here. I'm sure you'll continue, but it does take quite an effort, and that effort is very valuable as well for your, as a process for yourself, for your team, and who you're working with. Talking to your mentors and reconnecting with your with your partner, for example, to talk about this. I think that in itself is a valuable process. So I think start that as soon as you can, and really invest the time and energy into putting together a fantastic application. And I'm really here to give you some of the pointers on how that could look like practically. And lastly, and enjoy the process and connect to your authenticity. I think the winners that really come across and make it far in the process are the ones that believe they are the hero that they are, and that comes across, in the responses. So the problem is clearly defined when you think about a story, and the hero story, or any story, as a hero, is that this hero has a problem, or there's a desire, and there's some imperfection, and you're that hero, and your business that hero, and you introduce that, and you've gone out on this adventure to build a company to solve this problem, and you want to talk about the adventure, how fantastic you've done, and how and what you've learned from the things you didn't do fantastically, but how all of this comes together into portraying and clearly showing what success will look like into the future. So if you want as well, you may download an offline version. There's a Word version on the website, which we'll share in our emails after this, along with the video and the survey, and the survey and other FAQs. There'll be a couple of emails coming to you in the coming week. But you can use that Word document and write in there as a draft, work offline, think about it, have some coffee, take a walk, and work offline as well. That's also advised. So let's quickly do a deep dive into the specific areas of the application itself. And I do want to be wary of my time here, so I'm really going to be nitpicking the specific important areas, but this video will be available to go through the slides as well, and the slides will be also made available a little bit later. So when we look at the founder's profile, here it's really trying to link to your personal profile, trying to understand your social profiles. If there's any personal websites, these are the things that the judges could look at to substantiate what you've shared, to make that coherence in what you're saying and what you're actually doing out in the world. And also very important is it is challenging that there are word limits. There are word limits in most of the questions, 100 words, 250 words. You want to watch these, but which means that you can't, you don't want to say a lot. You don't want to talk too much. but you want to get to the point. You want to bring out the exact figures that make your point and the exact observations that demonstrate the response. So really think about, how am I clear enough? You know, you can't question yourself enough in that environment to say, is this clear enough? Can I rewrite this? Should I take out these couple sentences, put them aside? How do I shorten these or rewrite these in a way that is more impactful? And then you look at the paragraph. Can I rewrite this paragraph now with all these sentences rewritten? Can I improve it? You know, that iterative aspect of really trying to be clear and concise is an unexplainable impact to the reader, but it makes an impact. And then lastly is, in these founder profile, think about your authentic values as well, and your story as well, and continuously plug yourself into the thought of why I deserve to be, you know, why do I deserve to be Africa's business hero? Why do I sound like, or why is my story the one that, you know, will really resonate with the values of Africa's best business heroes? And you want to keep marrying your values as well as the prizes values. And then this really comes down to, or this emerges in the question of what motivated you to become an entrepreneur. You want to show exactly what, you know, why you wanted to start a business. Was the specific observations that you saw as a problem in your community, and what were they? What was that experience like? What was the impact of that observation in your community? Or maybe it was a personal problem. You know, maybe, for example, you had an uncle who got sick over, you know, and they needed a kidney transplant, or they've been on dialysis for 20 years, and the electricity keeps on being a problem at home, and they need a kidney transplant, but it's difficult to get one. So this already, you're talking, and now you've started building a business for backup power for dialysis, you know, for example. And so these are, I just heard there someone coming in. Will ask you to please keep your mics on mute and your videos off. We will have time for Q&As towards the end, and you can also drop them in the chat. But that's, say, an example there, right? Someone you had a personal experience with, and now you've gone out to try and save people like your uncle, because diabetes is becoming, you know, a bigger and bigger problem in your country, for example. And so this now illustrates that there's a personal experience and there's a problem, and you believed you're the one to solve that problem. You know, so a strong answer is going to show why you believe you're the one who solves this problem, why you want to do this as a business, as an entrepreneur. But if you show on things like financial gain, or you wanted to be a hero, or you wanted to make mega bucks and dollar, then this is not aligned to the values of impact as well as passion. And also, if you're not showing that the impact that this is going to have on you solving this problem or being an entrepreneur, then that will also not be a very strong answer. So those are some of the areas you want to bring out around your purpose and your motivation, which also comes back to why you're applying for the prize. So here you're connecting why you started this business, and as well as the values of the prize, ABH's key values, which we've mentioned above. And you can also go on website, online, and find more stories about, you know, like the shows, the documentary. These are on YouTube, on the website. Watch those, what some of the other past winners and finalists said as their values, what drove them, and this can be inspiration for you. So when you respond, you know, you'll touch on your excitement about the opportunity for the prize, and it's really, at the end of the day, going to sound like, without you being Africa Business Heroes, you won't succeed, you won't achieve your goals. You know, this is an intermarried fit between your values, what you're doing, and the timing, and what the ABH prize offers. But if you focus on, you know, you really just want to get the prize money, or personal gain by meeting Strive and Jack Ma or Grasha Michelle and so on, then that will be a weak answer. Other areas outside of your of the founder's profile is then just things around what the judges are looking at when looking at the business demographics. So clarity I want to make around business registration is that you want to provide the date for when you incorporated, as well as a certificate that shows that date, and within an African country appropriate, sort of authority. And then number of years operational, touched on this a little bit, but it counts back on the years running your business. So, if it's 5 years, it's asked here, how long have you been operating? If you've been operating for 5 years, it does not necessarily mean you've been earning revenue for 5 years or you incorporated 5 years ago, but it's how long have you been working on your business? When did you start working your business? You also asked about your primary country of operation. And this really is about where your major assets are sitting, whether that's your revenue or your equipment or your employees or where the most of your customers are sitting. That's what you want to bring in here. And full-time staff are people that are on a full-time contract as per the laws and regulations in your country, either being paid weekly, monthly, or daily, but as defined by your employment contract with them. Those are the numbers you want to bring in there. And then let's take a look, so those are like the business demographics. We'll jump into the business deep dive now. Some of the specific areas on the pitch that you want to emphasize or position yourself well on. In general, I cannot repeat this enough, evidence your responses with specific figures, specific statistics, and observations. This is going to bring in the validity of the problem, how compelling it is. If there's a growth rate on the problem, for example, really try and ask yourself, did I bring in here enough real examples or real figures? And then throughout the application, you'll find these tips, particularly in the business deep dive area. You might get stuck, or when you're iterating on your first or second draft, you can take a look at these tips. They have some of the things that we are discussing here, for example, and some of them have some examples. So really want to encourage you to look at these. If you're only working on the Word document, don't forget about these. And then lastly, is being customer centric or bring in stories or insights or lessons. So from your experience, or from your application, it must show that you've got experience in what you're saying. Real world experience. This is a little bit similar to the figures and the statistics, but this is more about what happened. What did you learn? What have you changed? And some of the questions try to bring these out, but once again, you want to create a thread between the questions, even though they're not asking that specific question. And so if we then look at the section around your market size and the example, there's a question on, to illustrate this point, there's a question on how's the market changed? How's your customer changed since you started solving this problem? And the judges know that when you start is not where you're going to end up, and you might change 5, 10 times on your focus. So, and every time you changed, there's resilience being built, innovativeness being built, and lessons being built as well. So how has your customer base been changed? Maybe you've pivoted, or maybe there is, you also want to bring this in as if you've pivoted, why you've pivoted. And then there's also things like the market opportunity that's changing. What are the dynamics of that? Is it a growing market size? Is a market problem that's becoming more severe? It's becoming more urgent. It's a life and death situation, or there's a regulation impact on your customers that you're trying to solve. So if this has changed over time, a strong answer will have these. But a weak answer, might correlate things that aren't related to your market, and the judge looks puzzled as to why you mentioned that. Or you might live out something that the judge realizes this should be a problem for your market, for your kind of customer in that country. I, as a judge, think that would be a problem, and you didn't mention it. That will raise some eyebrows. But if we then move on a little bit to the competition, this was raised as well, showing an understanding of your competition. So one side is around understanding of your market, but who are you competing against? And this shows respect on your experience, and your knowledge of what you're doing and the people that you're working with in an industry or in your community. So a strong answer is going to show this kind of experience and the statistics and the numbers and so on. But also it's going to describe what your competition does well, and also be able to describe what they don't do so well, in such a way that will then clearly set up your response in the next question, which then asks, what do you do that's different? So once again, this is about that narrative throughout these questions. Is each question can set up the next and create that coherent story. But if you are not covering a wide enough information here, or you're not clear exactly on who the competition is and why they are your competition, then that will weaken your answer. Or if you say this is, you don't have competition, or you don't, that will actually tell the judges that you don't know who your competition is, because there is if there's a problem, there is a way that some people are overcoming that problem, or businesses are overcoming that problem, whether it's a who or a what, and whether or not it's effective is another question. But you have to understand what is the current situation of your customer and the problem they're solving. I mean, they have, and how it's being solved, and so this then sets up your understanding of the industry. But if we then look into the business itself, you are then asked about particularly your revenue. How are you earning money as a business? And it's very easy here as an entrepreneur to get sidetracked and not be very clear. And so I want to suggest that you focus on a single primary customer, or you break down something like your B2B business and your B2C business. And if you've got primary customers in those are the ones you want to bring across, the ones that are the majority of your income. And so really question yourself, is this clear? Is it obvious? And does it take away from anything else I've said? If you've got 5 different customer bases, for example, and you're earning revenue in all sorts of ways, it doesn't mean you have to mention all of them. So articulate your recurring your structure as well of income, whether that's once off, if it's B2B, or is it recurring, and if there's any growth around that, or dynamics or changes around that, then you want to bring those in. But if you don't go into the numbers aren't clear on how you earn revenue, how much revenue you're earning, and so on, and how that's changing, then that will be a weaker answer. And really, it shouldn't take away again from anything else that you've said. So if you described a certain market beforehand, now you're not talking about that market as part of your business plan or business model, there's incoherence there. And then lastly, is looking at how do you sell or distribute your product. And the point that I want to make here is, when you're discussing with some of the experts and professionals and you're reviewing, there are all sorts of frameworks that you can look at. For example, the 4 Ps framework here helps around, marketing, distribution, pricing, and so on. And you could use this to double check your responses. There's frameworks around market size, how you calculate your market size. And you can go look those online and see whether you've covered your tabs there. But there's an example here around sanitary pads that are biodegradable. They are made locally by women in the community at 10% the price of traveling to the city. So already you're comparing, you're making a comparison to clearly illustrate why your business is different or why people are buying from you. And then the women manufacturers are unemployed and they are trusted members of the community. So this incentivizes the community members to buy from them and support their work through our distribution centers and friendly agent sellers. The agent sellers are most effective through word of mouth. So the sales as marketing numbers here with 80% repeat clients. And once again, this covers an entire story around the benefits of the product, where you're pricing, how that's different or better, as well as your promotion, getting your product or service to your customers. As an example, but of using this kind of framework in this answer. Excuse me. And lastly, I want to chat about impact. Actually, just one more slide, but I'll go on this one a little bit quicker. But I want to talk about the impact in the community. This is a key area as a value for the prize, and you want to show measurable figures. You want to show what you've done to date. Want to show big impact that's changing the landscape. And once again, it must be consistent with why you're starting this business, consistent with the problem, and consistent with your market. There's a thread that you're tying in between all of these, and in general around your future plans. So this is now looking at your growth, where you're trying to take the business. You asked things like, what do you see happening in the next 5 years? You asked to imagine if you were to win, the prize, how would you use the funding? So here you are concluding, you are sort of bringing everything you've said together and painting the picture of the future. So keep in mind the application you've written, connect to the ABH's values, and justify with clarity the use of the funds. So these funds are actually gonna, there's a justifiable aspect in the numbers that you've used and the gaps that you've outlined in the business and the opportunities you've outlined. That we're using these funds to capture this market or to build this infrastructure in order to achieve X, Y, Z based on our growth plan. And thank you very much. I must end there and open up for Q&A. We can jump back to any of those areas if you want clarity. Thank you from my side. Over to you, Tari.
Thank you so much, Buntu. See, we do have quite a few questions in the Q&A, just from those that have registered and also in the chats. I hope for all of you, the session from Buntu that was presented by Buntu has given you some confidence when approaching this application for the competition. Just a reminder to everybody, I will share the recording and the slides with you all once they are made available. And please also give us your feedback about the workshop as well by completing a short survey that I will be sending after this workshop. So we've got a question here. I think this one is for Audrey. I think she's still here. That speaks more to investors, and I think you have touched on this, but maybe you could, expand on it a bit more for those that may have missed it. And the question is, what is needed by investors in regards to documentation, or when they're looking at a business, what is it that they want to see? I suppose you can give us kind of like a 5 bullet points of what investors want to see in a business or in a pitch deck.
Okay, I'm going to answer that one, Tari, but there was also one in the chat that asked what is Series I that I want to answer because I saw it wasn't answered. Series I, when investors talk, they think about are you pre-revenue, so you're not in the market yet. So they think that as seed stage for your business, or are you or are you seed? seed could be in the early stages. You're still proving your market fit and whether somebody will buy from you. Then you go pre-Series A and then you go Series A. Now, Series A is regarded as the space where you've proven that you've got a market, your product works, and a substantial amount of people have bought your product, but you now want to grow or scale your business. So you're raising funding for entering a new market or a new country because you know what you do works. And that's Series A in venture capital language. So that was that question. And then, Tari, your question or somebody's question was, what does investors look for? Look, I want to know that there's a scalable market because they put money into your business and they want to multiply that money through you. So they take a part of your business because they can see you going somewhere. Therefore, they want to see that there's a sizable market and that you can convert the market, that the team is really solid, that this team can do the job, and that they will get a return on investment. And that's what they want. They want confidence in that your business can deliver a return on investment for their investment. And that's a lot about the things that Jean also covered, just that confidence that there's really something scalable here. It's not a small market. It's not something that will stop. It can continue for many, many years, and it will grow and grow and grow. So that's in a nutshell what investors look for.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Audrey. I've got another question here about the growth strategy. So the question is, how do I map out my growth strategy and plan for it financially?
Okay, so this is quite a bit of work. And that means that you look at what you've done until now. So you understand already your business. You understand that for your business to sell this amount of product or to create this amount of value, reach this market in this geographical area, you needed I'm making it up because every business is unique, 5 agents to service a geography of so many millions of people or so many retailers or whatever your type of business is. If it's a technological business, then so much technology, so many people to service the product that you sell ultimately. Then when you start working into your projections, your growth plan, that learning must be projected into at least a 3-year plan. I mean, some people make 10-year plans, but I think that becomes very fuzzy. You can plan 3 years ahead. Of course, you'll pivot every year a bit and adapt, but you actually have to do the maths. So I will need a warehouse. I will need so many people to sell. I will need so many people to deliver. And for every so many units that I sell, I'll have to appoint another person. So that's another cost. So you actually go line item per line item and you cost it forward. And then you load your resources and you load your costs. And you project your revenue as you put these people in place, your revenue can increase with so much based on your past. And it doesn't always have to be incremental. Sometimes when you've got a scalable model, as soon as the platform is in, you don't need so many people. But it will be based on your knowledge that you have at the moment. And a growth plan is you plotting that out for the next 3 years, and you plan your costs, and those costs will generate so much income. And that is your growth plan. That's your business model, basically, that you're putting into a balanced a cash flow plan, a balance sheet, and a budget.
Great. Thank you so much, Audrey. Thank you for your time and for just answering those few questions for us. I've got a question here, Buntu, that is in regards to the application process. And I think this has come up quite a bit. So one is in regards to citizenship. So it does say in one of the criteria is that someone is a citizen, an African citizen. And another question that has come up now is if the person is African, if the business is here, but it's registered, or operates in Africa, but is registered in another country, can they still apply? Do they still qualify?
Thanks so much, Tarisira, for the questions. The first one around citizenship is tricky because in some countries you might be a permanent resident, or you might be a resident, or you might be in the process of assimilation. However, unfortunately, the prize is very specific on citizenship, and so in that case, if you are the only founder and you're not a citizen, your parents are not a citizen, or your grandparents are not a citizen of an African country, then unfortunately you will not be eligible to apply. At least in this business, the competition does run for another 7 years. So if you're a serial entrepreneur and you found another one this year or last year, then in 3 years' time, you'll be able to apply if you found another one with an African founder who is a citizen. Then the second question is around the application. Some echo there. Wonderful, thanks to you. So second question around your main operations being outside of Africa. Once again, we are looking at Africa's business heroes, and the idea is that you might be operating primarily in Africa, like your revenue and your assets might be in Africa. But similarly to being an African citizen, when you are submitting your registration certificate of your company, it should be from an African authority, who issues company registrations. And this is a major sort of, it's got the tax implications and the due diligence implications, and so on. And so it is important that it is incorporated in Africa.
Okay, thanks, Batu. I've got another question here that speaks to, and this has come up quite a bit. So I'll give myself an example. I've got a business that I have technically started in 2018, but may have only started generating revenue, let's say, beginning of 2020, or businesses. So yeah, would I still qualify? Do I meet the criteria, or do I need to have a 2 to 3 year revenue track record?
Thanks so much. Yes, so this is a challenging one, because the game changer here is when you incorporated. If you were incorporated by June 7th of June 2018, then you qualify. But maybe you weren't earning revenue or substantial revenue, or maybe you started earning revenue in 2018, and then in 2019, you earned much less or earned no revenue. Then in 2020, you earned revenue again, or in that case, you haven't been earning any revenue, and in 2020 you've earned revenue, and it's actually substantial revenue. Then it becomes blurry. But I would suggest that you apply. The reason is because the main indicator for for qualifying when it comes to being post revenue and so on is that there's some historic evidence that shows your traction. So it shows validation, credibility around you solving this problem. But that doesn't have to be consecutive every single year since then. That's one part. But the second part is that you showing a robust opportunity. So if in 2020 your business growth and your numbers are indicating that this business is almost at product market fit, for example, or you have already raised funding and you're scaling some of your validation within your country, if you are essentially showing that you guys are doing well, good job here, then that can look good for the judges, even though 3 years exactly revenue isn't there. So I'd certainly say it's worth a shot. But of course, that's in the judge's hands to compare with who else that they have, on their hand. But in that process, I certainly guarantee it will not have gone in vain. You will get some feedback. Articulating these things is valuable in itself, and you may even be surprised that the other areas or things that are scored, because revenue is not the only thing that's scored. When those other things are scored, you actually progress. So that would be my recommendation.
Perfect. Thanks, Buntu. I hope that gives some clarity. I know there's quite a few questions that came up in the chat regarding that. So thank you very much, Buntu. And then last question, as we're running out of time now, is basically about the, kind of the process. So, after I've completed my application and evaluated, what happens then? And then ultimately, where do I pitch? Do I have to travel anywhere? Or is the whole competition happening online? So if you can just talk us through the process post the 7th. Thanks.
Sure, happy to. So once you've submitted on the by the 7th, the first thing that you can do is to celebrate, give high fives all around the team because you've made it past the first step. And then after that, you will then get continuous updates on your progress. Or in terms of if you've then made it to the round to be screened by judges. The first round of judges, and that screening of that first round of judges is happening between the middle of June until the middle of July. And you will essentially then hear around the second week of July, say the 17th of July, tentatively on whether or not you've made it into the top 50. Once that happens, you'll then be contacted onto the next steps, preparation for the boot camp, for the top 50 boot camp, and what the opportunity is for you if you make it to top 20 and top 10. So things like investment readiness training, things like mentorship from best experts, industry experts who will refine your pitch and so on, and then of course the prize money and networking opportunities, which are all happening online. So between the end of July until the mid of August, the top 50 will then be asked to prepare for interviews. And so if you are proactive, you'll start preparing your pitch for this 1.5 hour, it's about 90-minute type of interview with the judges. And that is where then we will determine, and these are happening online as well, but that's where then we'll determine who goes into the top 20. The top 20 then are announced in August, towards the end of August. And throughout the end of August, as well as September, they go through a mentorship process, refining your pitch, refining the business details, refining the investment preparedness, as well as refining actually how you present. So from experts, from people that do TV and presentation, they will be helping you there, and then go into a semi-final pitch as the top 20, which will then happen in September, and in the beginning of October, the top 10 is then announced, and there's a boot camp for the top 10 until and that's also at least at this point planned to be online. We're still watching how things are changing. So everything tentatively we're taking as though it will be online, but can change towards the end, especially for the finale, which happens in November, which is televised on I think 23 different countries around the continent, on 2 different television networks, as well as other online media spaces. And then they're also global, so they are sort of accessible to other countries in the US and China, these platforms. But essentially, this is a televised opportunity for you to then tell your story, tell your journey, and by this time, you'll either be tired or insanely inspired. which means that you've won, because you've gone through all the benefits and the hurdles, as well as the networking and mentorship, and really it's just here to tell your story now. So that's then in November at the end of the process. But once again, another end will be a new beginning, because the point of Africa's Business Heroes Prize is to tell Africa's entrepreneur stories to the world. And so you'll see online documentaries from previous winners, clips on YouTube, on some TV and radio opportunities from previous winners, and that will be something that then happens with you as well. As you join now this community of alumni, your story will be told.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Buntu. Thank you so much for your time and telling us more, giving us more insights into the application process and the Africa Business Heroes competition. So I hope everybody, your questions have been answered. I hope that, again, that you feel inspired and confident to answer the questions given in the application form. If not, and you still have questions, please feel free to visit the FAQ page on the Africa Business Heroes website. You're also welcome to WhatsApp us or email us at africasbusinessheroes@innovationsummit.co.za. I have posted it in the chat. And just lastly, as we wrap up, we're slightly over time, but I just want to say thank you to our speakers, to our amazing speakers, to Audrey and Jean, Joan and Buntu. Thank you for sharing your time and your expertise with all of us. I'm sure all of us are very, very grateful. And thank you for providing us with the useful information as well. And to you, our business heroes, thank you for joining us. And I hope this workshop was insightful. I hope it helped you answer any other questions, any queries that you had about the competition itself. And to apply, please visit the africabusinessheroes.org website. And I suppose just to say thank you to you all, feeling very on Thursday afternoon, I'm giving away free tickets to the virtual edition of the 2021 SA Innovation Summit in September. It'll be an opportunity for you to network, to engage with the African entrepreneurial ecosystem that supports early stage businesses across Africa, across the world. And it'll also be an opportunity as well for you to gain exposure. You can visit our website, innovationsummit.co.za, for more information, to find out more about the event in itself. I will also share the details in the coming days of how you can redeem that ticket. I think, I see my colleague here has also posted it in there, just to redeem your ticket. So again, thank you very much for being here. And I hope that to see all your applications for this competition. And I just want to wish you all the best as you embark on this journey. And on behalf of the African Business Heroes competition and the SA Innovation Summit, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you need any help. And until next time, that's it from me. Goodbye.